You're falling through the darkness over Sicily. It's the summer of 1943, and you just jumped out of a C-47 transport plane into the unknown. Below you, the Mediterranean glitters under scattered moonlight. The wind is howling, 35 miles per hour, far worse than anything you trained for. Your plane was bucking and weaving, the pilot struggling to hold formation. Somewhere in the darkness, the other planes of your regiment are scattering across the sky. Navigation has gone to hell. The green light came on, you gave the order. Stand up, hook up, check equipment. And out you went. First man through the door, as an officer should be. Now you have no idea where you're going to land. You count 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. The parachute snaps open above you. The silk canopy blooms white against the black Mediterranean night. So far, so good. But as you descend, something doesn't look right below. The ground is coming up fast, too fast. And those aren't fields down there. Those are vineyard stakes. Wooden poles arranged in neat rows to support grapevines. Hundreds of them, pointed at the sky like spears waiting to impale you. What's your next move? You can't steer much in the dark. You can barely see the ground rushing up to meet you. Men are screaming in the distance. Some have already landed on those stakes. The poles driving through their bodies. The night is chaos. You're coming in hot, weighed down with 40 pounds of equipment. Hand grenades stuffed in every pocket. Your carbine strapped to your side. Ammunition for days. And you're 15 pounds over the weight limit for paratroopers to begin with. You signed a waiver acknowledging that at 165 pounds, you technically shouldn't be jumping at all. The ground rushes up. Stakes flash past on either side, and then impact. You hit the dirt hard between two rows of vines, the poles missing you by inches. Your body slams into the earth so hard it feels like jumping off a 3-story building. But you're alive. You're 8 miles behind enemy lines in Sicily, and you have no idea where your company is. Welcome to the war. This isn't a movie. This isn't fiction. This was the reality for Joseph DeMasi, a young Italian-American from New Jersey who volunteered for the paratroopers and found himself dropping into combat zones across Europe. From the grape orchards of Sicily to the streets of Normandy, from the canals of Holland to the frozen forests of the Battle of the Bulge. You're about to experience the war through Joe's eyes. Welcome to POV World War II. I'm your host, Fernando Prieto, and today we're going to take you on an extraordinary journey through World War II as experienced by a paratrooper of the legendary 82nd Airborne Division. You'll feel the terror of jumping into the unknown, the chaos of scattered drops, the bond between soldiers who share foxholes, and the weight of a simple creed that carried men through impossible odds: death before dishonor. What makes an Italian-American kid from a tiny New Jersey town volunteer to jump out of airplanes behind enemy lines? What does it take to fight a tank with nothing but a bazooka? How does a man survive 4 airborne combat operations and over 300 days in combat when so many around him don't make it? Strap in. This is Joe's story. Today, it's yours. It's the late 1930s. You're a young man living in New Village, New Jersey, a small community. Many Italian immigrants like your parents. The town sits near the Edison cement plant, where your father works. Yeah, that Edison. Thomas Edison himself built this plant, and your father has stories about the great inventor. Your dad came to America 6 times before finally settling here. 6 times he made the crossing, working for a few months, then returning to Italy. Finally, your mother put her foot down. "If you marry me," she told him, "I want to go to America too." So here you are, the third of 4 children, growing up in a house with walls 1.5 feet thick, made of stone, with big barns out back. Your mother is illiterate, not because she's unintelligent, but because her father, the mayor of the town of Irola, back in Italy, believed that if women learned to read and write, they would write love notes to their boyfriends. So women in his household didn't go to school. To this day, your mother wishes she could read a newspaper. That regret burns in her, and she's determined that her children will get educations, especially you. Can you imagine not being able to read? What would that feel like? To look at a newspaper and see only meaningless shapes. Your mother's frustration becomes your motivation. The first day you went to school, you ran right back home. The teachers were speaking some language you didn't understand. "Mom," you said, "they don't speak our language. I don't know what they're talking about." You only knew Italian, the old dialect from your parents' region. Phrases that even modern Italians laugh at because they sound like something their great-grandfathers would say. Your older sister grabbed you by the hand and dragged you back to school. The teacher put you on her lap and promised to teach you. And learn you did. You took to your studies so well that you skipped the 5th grade entirely, jumping from 4th to 6th. You became captain of the wrestling team in high school, played third base on the baseball team, what you call the hot corner, and discovered that you had a knack for academics. But there was no money. The depression hit everyone hard, though your family managed better than most because of your father's friendship with the superintendent at the cement plant. Still, college seemed like a fantasy, something for rich kids from families with doctors and professors, not the children of Italian laborers. Then came the state scholarship exam. One boy and one girl from each county could win a scholarship to Rutgers. Your wrestling coach encouraged you to try. You took the test over 2 grueling days in 1938, and you won. You were going to be the first Italian boy from your area to go to college. You understand what that meant? In your community, what your father did determined what you did. Carpenters' sons became carpenters. Laborers' sons became laborers. The Italian names themselves reflected ancestral professions. Ferraro meant iron worker. Panebianco meant white bread maker. Breaking that cycle was almost unheard of. But here you were, Joseph DeMasi, with a state scholarship to Rutgers University. The tuition was $333 a year. To help pay your way, you worked the graveyard shift at the cement mill during summers, midnight to 8 in the morning. It kept you out of trouble, kept you working, and kept you in school. During the school year, you cleared tables in the dining hall, shelved books in the library, and did whatever else you could to earn your room and board. Your roommate was a Jewish boy named Seymour Silberberg. Every night he would put on a small black cap, kneel down, and say his prayers. You'd never known any Jewish people before. There weren't any in New Village. "What are you doing that for?" you asked the first time. "Joe, I'm Jewish," he explained. "We do that." You learned something about the world beyond your small community. You came to feel a kinship with the Jewish students. They seemed to be in the same boat you were, working class kids among wealthier classmates, outsiders finding their way. You considered joining a fraternity, the Alpha Chi Rho, but quickly realized you couldn't keep up financially with boys whose parents were doctors and executives. So you focused on wrestling, on your studies, on preparing for whatever came next. What was coming next was war. It's a Sunday afternoon in December 1941. You're home from college, sitting at a desk, studying your ROTC assignment. You stayed in advanced ROTC partly because you liked the military aspect, partly because of the small stipend, partly because you sensed the storm clouds gathering over Europe. Hitler has been swallowing countries whole, and America can't stay out of this forever. Then the radio program is interrupted. Pearl Harbor. The Japanese have attacked the American fleet at Pearl Harbor. How did you feel in that moment? Shock? Anger? Fear? A strange sense of inevitability? The attack came while Japanese diplomats were still negotiating in Washington, supposedly working toward peace. The treachery of it burns in your gut. How could they catch us asleep? You can't forgive the commanders for being so unprepared. Back at Rutgers, everything changes. The male student population begins to shrink as young men enlist or are drafted. The ROTC program intensifies. You're going to war. You know that now. The only question is when and how. You've always been a leader. When you and your friends go somewhere, you're the one who says, let's go to such and such. You make decisions, take charge. That's in your nature. So when you think about how you want to serve, you think about the kind of men you want to fight alongside. You hear about a new outfit being formed, the paratroopers, airborne infantry, men who jump out of airplanes behind enemy lines. The training is brutal, the missions suicidal by any conventional military standard. When you jump behind enemy lines, there's no retreat. You're surrounded from the moment you land. It's death before dishonor. They either get you or you get them. There's no in between. That's exactly what you want. I'm gonna fight the war, you tell yourself. And I want to be associated with people who are of my mentality, who want to fight. So you volunteer. 2 of your classmates volunteer with you. The 3 of you head down to Fort Benning, Georgia, and try out for the Airborne. When you arrive, they put you through rigorous physical examinations. One of your friends has flat feet, rejected. The other has a heart murmur, rejected. Only you pass the tests. Well, mostly pass. At 165 pounds, you're heavier than they like for paratroopers, but you're determined. You sign a waiver acknowledging that if anything happens to you because of your weight, that's on you. What the hell is 15 pounds, you figure? It's nothing. You complete infantry training and heavy weapons school, learning to fire every weapon the Army has. Rifles, carbines, machine guns, mortars, the works. You learn to identify enemy tanks and planes, to read maps, to set up defensive positions. Then comes parachute school. What goes through your mind the first time you stand in that airplane door, looking down at the ground hundreds of feet below? Some men freeze. Some refuse to jump and have to be pushed out. But you've made up your mind about something. This is death before dishonor. Others have done it. The chute opens. Why shouldn't it open for you? 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. You count as you fall, waiting for that reassuring jerk when the canopy deploys. The plane is doing over 100 miles an hour. So when you step out that door, the propeller wash catches your chute and pulls it right open. If it doesn't open by 3,000, you've got a reserve chute to pull. Though at the altitudes you jump from, 700 or 800 feet, you don't have much time to spare. You pack your own parachute. Every trooper does. That way, if something goes wrong, you have no one to blame but yourself. You fold the silk with care, pleating it just so, making sure nothing will tangle. One day, your jump instructor wants to demonstrate how forgiving the parachutes really are. He has some trainees throw a chute into a bag any old way, bunched up, twisted, completely unpacked, and he sews it shut. Then he puts it on and jumps out of the plane while everyone watches. The chute opens anyway. It comes down fine. Now you see how simple it is? He tells you afterward. And you people have your chutes folded so beautifully. Still, you fold yours beautifully, just in case. You earn your wings. You're assigned to the 505th Parachute Infantry Regiment, a unit that will make history as the first American regiment to make a regimental-scale combat parachute assault. Your commanding officer is a lieutenant colonel named James Gavin, a man who will become a legend. He started out in a Brooklyn orphanage, was adopted by a coal town family in Pennsylvania, joined the Army as an enlisted man at 17, and won a spot at West Point through competitive examination. He's tough, dedicated, and leads from the front. As far as you and your fellow troopers are concerned, Jim Gavin is the Airborne. You're assigned to C Company 1st Battalion as the assistant platoon leader for the 2nd Platoon. A platoon is about 40 men, 2 rifle squads plus a mortar section and headquarters element. There's a first lieutenant who leads it, and you, a second lieutenant, backing him up. In the Airborne, they want plenty of officers. When men are scattered across miles of enemy territory after a jump, leadership has to be everywhere. The training is relentless. Before breakfast, you jog 3 miles. Then you train all day. Tactics, weapons, close combat, night operations. After every march, you have to examine your men's feet. Blisters are deadly serious. If a man can't walk, he can't fight. And in the Airborne, you can't afford to lose anyone. Do you like examining feet? Not particularly, but it's your job, and you do it. In April 1943, you board a ship in New York Harbor. A singer named Lena Horne is performing as the troops embark. She's young, beautiful, and her voice cuts right through the chaos of loading. You'll remember that moment for the rest of your life. You're headed to North Africa, where Rommel's Africa Corps is still fighting. The U-boats are the biggest threat. 1942 and early 1943 are the worst years for submarine attacks, and the German undersea fleet has the edge. Your convoy zigzags across the Atlantic to avoid torpedoes, but no ships in your group are hit. What would it feel like to spend weeks on a ship, knowing that a torpedo could strike at any moment, that you could be thrown into the freezing Atlantic in the dark of night? You try not to think about it. You focus on your training, on learning about Sicily, your first objective, on studying maps and terrain. When you reach North Africa, you transfer to a train, one of those old 40 and 8 cars from World War I, designed to carry 40 men or 8 horses. The ride is miserable, cramped, hot, and slow. But you're in North Africa, heading toward your staging area, and the war feels closer with every mile. You can see the aftermath of fighting in the distance, burnt-out vehicles, shattered buildings. The war is no longer an abstraction. North Africa is a strange holding pattern. You train in the desert, where sandstorms blow up every afternoon at 1 o'clock. By 4 o'clock, your pup tent is buried in sand. You learn to tie a cloth over your nose and mouth and just wait it out. At night, the desert sky is so bright you can read a newspaper by moonlight. So you do most of your training after dark. You experiment with new equipment and tactics. The training is relentless and sometimes brutal. You practice bayonet drills until the movements are automatic. Thrust, twist, withdraw. The Army wants you ready to kill up close, not just with rifles at a distance. It's grim, but it prepares you for what's coming. You make friends with some of the pilots who fly your transport planes. Being a college graduate sets you apart from most of the enlisted men, and the pilots, also educated, take a liking to you. One day a pilot makes you an offer. "Joe, we're flying to Cairo. Want to come along?" The mission is to buy Scotch whiskey at $1 a bottle. Egypt, still crawling with British troops under a pre-war treaty, has plenty of it. You collect money from all your buddies, fly to Cairo, buy 15 cases of scotch, and fly back. You become the hero of the 82nd Airborne. Then, in July 1943, the waiting ends. Sicily. The mission is simple on paper, a night drop. Your regiment jumping inland to grab key ground while the regular infantry hits the beaches. You're to hold a hill 8 miles from the coast until another division fights its way up from the shore. They say it'll take hours. It won't. July 9th, 1943. The 505th Parachute Infantry Regiment is making history tonight. The first American regiment to make a regimental-scale combat parachute assault in history. Over the Mediterranean, the wind turns savage. 35 miles an hour, gusting harder. Your C-47 is pitching and bouncing so violently the men can barely stay on their feet. Out the windows, the formation is coming apart, planes scattering across the sky as pilots fight to hold course. The navigators are supposed to be guiding you to the drop zone, but every landmark they're looking for has disappeared into the dark. They're flying blind. The green light snaps on. Stand up, hook up, check equipment. You give the commands. Step to the door and go out first. That's how it works. The officer leads, the The darkness takes you. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. The canopy fills above you, pale against the black sky. You're floating now, drifting down over Sicily. So far, so good. Then you look down. Something's wrong. The earth is closing fast, too fast. And what's waiting below isn't farmland. It's a vineyard. Row after row of wooden stakes hammered into the ground, holding up grapevines. From above, they look like a bed of spikes. There's almost nothing you can do. You pull your risers, but in the dark with this wind, you're just along for the ride. Somewhere below, men who've already landed are screaming, stakes punched clean through them. The whole drop zone has turned into a nightmare. The ground comes up in a rush. Stakes whip past you on both sides. You crash between two rows of vines. The pole's missing you by inches. The impact is like dropping off a 3-story building. Your body slams flat. 40 pounds of gear driving you into the dirt. But the stakes didn't get you. You're down. You're alive. And you're 8 miles behind German lines with no idea where your company is. The plan said everyone would rally on a hill near the drop zone, dig in, and wait for relief. You're nowhere near that hill. You're scattered across unfamiliar country with troopers from half a dozen different units. Can you hear the chaos around you? Men calling out in the darkness, some screaming in pain, others whispering recognition signals. In the distance, gunfire crackles as Germans engage whoever they find. You've got to get organized, find other troopers, figure out where you are. This is the first hard lesson of airborne warfare. The plan never survives contact with the enemy. When you jump at night, you land wherever you land. The highest ranking officer present takes charge of whoever's nearby, and you accomplish whatever mission you can. By dawn, you've linked up with about 20 other paratroopers, men from different companies, different platoons, thrown together by the chaotic drop. You never see your platoon leader. You never see your company commander. The radio is with the captain, wherever he is. And without it, you have no way to communicate with anyone. You're on your own. The terrain is what the Italians call rugged farmland. Small fields surrounded by stone walls, olive trees, dirt roads. The Italians themselves aren't eager to fight. When they hear you speaking their language, your Neapolitan dialect, many of them simply surrender. They don't want this war. They're caught between the Germans, who will shoot them if they retreat, and the Americans, who will shoot them if they advance. Given the choice, they choose the Americans. But the Germans are another matter entirely. On your second day behind enemy lines, a German tank appears on the road. You're dug in with your scratch force of 20 men, armed with rifles and one bazooka, a shoulder-fired rocket launcher designed to penetrate armor. It's not a great weapon, but it's what you have. The tank spots your position and opens fire. The first bazooka shot comes from your man on the road and misses. The tank returns fire, killing him instantly. His body crumples next to the discarded bazooka. What do? You're an officer. You can't let your men see you hesitate. You sprint to the fallen trooper, grab the bazooka, load another rocket, and aim at the tank. You fire. The tank fires back. The rocket hits the tank, but doesn't penetrate. The tank's shell hits the embankment near you. You feel burning pain in your arm and leg. Shrapnel from the explosion has torn through your flesh. You're hit, bleeding, and the tank is still coming. Another trooper positioned on the opposite side of the road fires his own bazooka shot. This one hits something vital. The tank shudders, stops, begins to smoke. But you're down. Blood is pouring from wounds in your arm and your leg. Your sergeant drags you into a culvert that runs beneath the road, a drainage pipe offering some protection from the fighting above. They slap a tourniquet on your leg to stop the bleeding. You're out of the fight, right? Not quite. From your position in the culvert, you can still load weapons. Your men hand rifles down to you. You reload them, hand them back up. The fighting continues above while you work through the pain, trying to be useful. How long do you hold that position? 3 days. 3 days with no relief, no resupply, no evacuation for the wounded. The 45th Division pushing inland from the beaches doesn't reach you until the 3rd day. Meanwhile, you sit in that culvert, wounded, loading guns, watching men fight and die above you. One soldier takes a near miss from artillery that throws dirt into his eyes, blinding him temporarily. You pull him into the culvert with you. Take your time, you tell him. When you can see, come on out. He stays with you, waiting for his vision to return, while the battle rages on. 2 nights after you jump, you're still behind enemy lines. You've been fighting for 48 hours with almost no sleep. Your arm and leg are wrapped in bloody bandages. You're lying in a depression near a stone wall when you hear it. The drone of aircraft engines. Lots of them. You look up. Against the night sky, you can see the silhouettes of C-47s, transport planes, American planes. The 504th Regiment is coming in with reinforcements. Then the shooting starts. It comes from the coast, from the ships offshore. The naval fleet has just been bombed by Germans 40 minutes earlier. The gunners are spooked, trigger happy. When they see aircraft approaching low and slow, they don't wait for identification. Tracers streak upward into the darkness. One plane catches fire, then another. You watch from the ground, helpless, as American planes stagger, burn, spiral toward the sea. Parachutes bloom in the darkness. Men jumping from burning aircraft, some of them already on fire. The anti-aircraft guns don't stop. Ships firing in every direction. Transports tumbling from the sky. You can't do anything. You're 8 miles inland, wounded, watching your own Navy kill your own paratroopers. 23 planes go down. Over 300 men killed, wounded, or missing. Cut apart by friendly fire. One of those planes carried a general. In the morning, you hear about the paratroopers from the 504th, who landed near your position. Some made it down alive. Many didn't. You'll never forget this. None of you will. And from this moment onward, the Army makes damn sure there are naval liaison officers with every airborne operation. After the horse is stolen, they buy the lock for the barn. When the 45th Division finally arrives, you're evacuated to a ship offshore. That night, lying in the ship's sickbay, you hear a massive explosion. A bomb has just missed the ship, close enough to nearly capsize it. My God, you think. You get through one thing and then, war is hell. You're beginning to understand what that means. The final count for C Company in Sicily, out of roughly 160 men, about 20 are killed and 30 to 40 wounded. In your own platoon, 2 or 3 killed and 7 or 8 wounded, including you. The casualty rate is staggering. But you've survived your baptism of fire. You've been wounded and kept fighting. You've faced a tank with a bazooka and lived to tell about it. The war has just begun for you, but you've proven something to yourself. Whatever comes next, you can handle it. After weeks in a field hospital in North Africa, where a sympathetic nurse keeps you an extra 2 weeks by claiming you're still in bad shape, you return to your regiment. Sicily is secured. Italy is next. The Italian campaign is different. When you jump at Pestum on the Salerno beachhead, the landing itself is a sweetheart. No friendly fire, no scattered drop, nobody gets shot at. But don't mistake that for a quiet night. The beachhead is in crisis. The Germans have counterattacked with everything they've got, and the brass is talking about evacuating back to the ships. General Clark has called for the Airborne because he's out of options. You're not jumping behind enemy lines this time. You're jumping into a beachhead that's barely holding together. The hard fighting starts the moment you hit the ground. Your role changes because you speak Italian, the Neapolitan dialect, no less, perfectly suited for this region. You become valuable as an interpreter. Colonel Gavin himself requests your assignment to work with his command group. For a young lieutenant from New Jersey, it's a remarkable opportunity. Your first big contribution comes in Naples. The city has just been liberated, but the Germans have left behind booby traps. Gavin is looking for a building to use as his command post and settles on the main post office, a solid structure in the center of the city. As you approach the building with the general's party, an Italian civilian rushes up to you. He's speaking rapidly, gesturing at the post office. "Minata! Minata!" he says urgently. "Don't go in there, it's mined." You relay the warning to Colonel Gavin. More Italians gather, all saying the same thing. The Germans mined the post office before they left. Gavin is skeptical but cautious. He decides to set up his command post in the police station across the street. Days pass. People begin to doubt the warning. Maybe the civilians were wrong. Maybe the building is safe. On the 7th day, someone asks you, "Are you sure they were telling you right?" "Colonel," you reply, "you never know. Maybe they put duds in there. Maybe it's not geared to go off. Maybe you've got to touch something before it explodes." There are all kinds of mines. 6 days pass, then 7. On October 7th, the post office explodes. The blast kills over 100 people, civilians sheltering in the building and soldiers alike, including military police who had been stationed around it. If Gavin had used it as his command post, the entire leadership of the 82nd Airborne's reconnaissance element might have been killed. Your ability to communicate with the local population just saved your colonel's life. 2 months later, in December 1943, Gavin is promoted to brigadier general and made assistant division commander of the 82nd. He's no longer leading just the 505th. He's helping run the whole division. There's a personal mission you want to accomplish in Italy, too. Your mother's family comes from a town called Airola, in the hills northeast of Naples. You've never met these relatives, but you know they're there. You ask General Gavin for permission to visit. He grants it. You commandeer a jeep and drive into the countryside, following directions your mother gave you years ago. The villages you pass through have been stripped bare by the retreating Germans. No chickens, no pigs, no cattle. The Germans lived off the land as they withdrew, taking everything edible. When you arrive in Airola, you hardly know what to expect. You have red hair, unusual for an Italian, so you wonder if they'll even recognize you as family. A young woman runs out of a house, her face alight with recognition. "Giuseppe! Giuseppe! We were waiting for you!" She's hugging you before you can respond. "How did you know who I am?" you ask, bewildered. "There are 11 million GIs. Why would you think I'd show up here?" They knew. Somehow, they knew you would come. The house is bare. The Germans took everything. When they went through, the villagers had hidden wheat under the floorboards. But the soldiers tore up the floors looking for exactly that. There's almost nothing left to eat. Your relatives offer you the only food they have, pizza dough cooked in the fireplace. They put a frying pan right in the flames and make you a simple flatbread. It's all they can give. You're deeply moved and determined to help. "Tomorrow," you tell them, "I'll see if the general will give me some food. I'll bring you some food." The next day, you return with half a truck loaded with sea rations. You pass them out to the villagers, who can hardly believe their good fortune. They make you the honorary mayor of Airola. For the rest of your life, you'll return to this town to visit your cousins, who eventually prosper. One becomes a state trooper, another opens one of the biggest restaurants in the region. But in 1943, they're just hungry people in a war zone, and you're just a young soldier trying to help. The connection to your roots, to your mother's homeland, runs deep. Brigadier General Taylor, a one-star who speaks 6 languages, undertakes an even more dangerous mission. Disguised as a downed Allied airman, he's smuggled by ambulance up the Appian Way into German-occupied Rome. His job? Assess whether the Italians can actually support a planned airborne assault on the city. What he finds is that the promises are hollow. German forces are too strong. Italian support too unreliable. Taylor gets word to Eisenhower just in time. Planes are already in the air when the cancellation order goes out. The 82nd Airborne is saved from what would have been a massacre. Meanwhile, you're gaining experience as a reconnaissance officer. Your unit operates jeeps mounted with 50 caliber machine guns. Serious firepower for a light vehicle. Your job is to scout ahead of the main force, find the enemy, and report back. When you reach a rise overlooking unknown territory, you think like a machine gunner. If I were the enemy, where would I set up my gun? Then you fire a few rounds at those spots. If someone shoots back, you found the enemy. If not, you move forward and repeat the process. It's dangerous work. Sometimes the enemy gun isn't where you expected it. Sometimes an 88mm artillery piece is waiting for you instead of a machine gun. The 88 is the most feared German weapon, accurate enough to take your left eye out at a mile away, as you describe it. Several of your jeeps are destroyed by 88s in Belgium and elsewhere, but you learn to respect the weapon, and in Sicily, you even learn to operate captured 88s and turn them against the enemy. The Italian campaign winds down for the 82nd Airborne. Other units, the 504th Regiment, take on the brutal fighting at Anzio, but your regiment is pulled back for the next big operation. You've been in combat almost continuously since Sicily, and there's more coming. Much more. Northern Ireland is cold and gray, but the food is better than the weather. You're stationed there from early December 1943 until February, when you moved to England. For months, you trained for something big. Nobody says exactly what, but everyone knows. The invasion of Europe is coming. You develop a routine. In the mornings before training starts, you throw steaks directly onto the flat top of the potbelly stove in your barracks. The meat sizzles and smokes while you flip it, with your bare hands. It's crude, but effective. And the protein keeps you strong. Northern Ireland has plenty of food because it doesn't export anything to rationed England. Beef, butter, eggs, all available if you know where to find them. The local pub serves something called half and half, and the boys drink plenty of it. You receive replacements for the men lost in Sicily. These new troopers seem different, not quite as sharp as the originals who trained together from the beginning. You can spot them right away, but they're paratroopers now, and they'll learn fast, or not at all. Then in early June, the word comes down. General Eisenhower visits and addresses the officers. The invasion is imminent. Weather has delayed it by a day, giving Eisenhower time to speak with his airborne commanders. He's expecting 50% casualties among the paratroopers. 50%. Do you feel fear when you hear that number? Or is it something else? A cold acceptance? A sharpening of focus? This is what you've been training for. This is why you volunteered. Death before dishonor. The plan calls for you to drop near a town called San Mariglis, securing the area behind Utah Beach before the infantry lands at dawn. It'll be a night jump, like Sicily, but this time, the Navy knows you're coming. There will be no friendly fire disaster. You hope. June 6th, 1944, D-Day. Since Sicily, your role has changed. After recovering from your wounds, you were recruited by the division's intelligence staff. Your college education and language skills made you a natural fit. Now you command the 82nd Airborne's Reconnaissance Platoon, a mechanized unit equipped with jeeps and radios. You're no longer jumping with a rifle company. You're the general's eyes and ears. The paratroopers go in first, jumping in the darkness after midnight. The Luftwaffe is virtually absent. Allied fighters have cleared the skies. But the Germans on the ground are wide awake. Anti-aircraft fire erupts as planes cross the coast, and tracers claw at the aircraft. It's terrifying for the men in those planes, but it's not Sicily. No barrage of friendly fire, no 35 miles of your own ships trying to kill you. You come in later by glider, an engineless aircraft towed behind a transport plane, then cut loose to land in the Norman fields. Your glider carries your jeep, your radio equipment, and your men. You touch down about a mile from St. Mary-Glise as the day's light fades. The fields below are small, nothing like American farmland, with thick hedgerows surrounding each one. Each hedgerow is a natural fortress, roots and packed earth woven together over centuries into barriers that favor the defender and punish the attacker. But for now, you're just focused on getting oriented. Within hours, your reconnaissance unit has assembled. Unlike Sicily, where you wandered for days without seeing your company commander, here the plan is working. Men link up at designated rally points. Officers find their units. You set up a perimeter on a road leading into St. Mary-Glise and wait for the enemy. Can you hear the sounds of that night? Scattered gunfire in the distance, the rumble of artillery from the beaches, the shouts of men in multiple languages, English, German, French, as the battle spreads across the Cotentin Peninsula. And beneath it all, the constant drone of aircraft, bearing supplies and reinforcements. General Gavin uses your unit's radio to relay reports up the chain of command. You don't understand a word of the transmission. It's all in code. But you're proud that your equipment, your position, is serving such an important function. For 3 days, you fight to secure St. Mary-Glise and the surrounding area. The German resistance is fierce, but disorganized. They weren't expecting the paratroopers to land so accurately, and they're caught off guard. By the third day, the town is in American hands, and the infantry from Utah Beach has linked up with you. But the hedgerow country is a death trap. Those ancient field boundaries that look so picturesque from the air are perfect defensive positions for the Germans. Machine guns cover every gap. Artillery zeroes in on every field. The advance slows to a crawl. One of your men becomes a legend during the Normandy fighting. His name is Adams, and he's a Native American from somewhere out west. During one engagement, your unit is pinned down by German machine guns. The fire is so intense that nobody can move. Adams goes around single-handedly. He flanks the machine gun position and takes it out, killing the crew. That alone would be worth a medal, but Adams isn't done. He captures a German 88mm gun, the same weapon you learned to operate back in Sicily, and turns it on the enemy. German tanks are advancing on your position, and Adams uses their own artillery piece against them, knocking out one tank, then another, before he's finally wounded. You write Adams up for the Congressional Medal of Honor. Your captain supports the recommendation. Your major supports it. But somehow up the chain, the paperwork stalls. They give Adams the Distinguished Service Cross instead, the second highest award for valor. The reasoning seems to be that behind enemy lines, this kind of courage is expected. What's special about a paratrooper being brave? You never forget the injustice. Adams deserved that Medal of Honor. There's a sad irony about Adams, though. He can't handle alcohol. When the fighting stops and the boys get together for drinks, one beer sends Adams spiraling. He gets into trouble, and despite his incredible combat record, he never gets promoted beyond private. The Army doesn't know what to do with a man who's a hero in battle and a liability in camp. After 33 days on the line, your division is withdrawn. Soon, General Patton will arrive with his Third Army, and the breakout from Normandy will follow. But the Airborne isn't designed for prolonged infantry warfare. You don't have the heavy weapons, the vehicles, the supply lines that regular divisions have. Your rifles and bazookas are devastating in short, sharp actions, but you can't slug it out with a German line unit indefinitely. The casualties in Normandy: out of 90 men in your reconnaissance unit, 8 killed and 15 wounded. 1 officer lost. Not as bad as Sicily in percentage terms, but still brutal. The 82nd Airborne as a whole has been savaged, and replacement troops are pouring in to rebuild the shattered companies. You're sent back to England to rest and refit, but rest doesn't last long. There's another jump coming. September 1944, Operation Market Garden. For the first time, you're jumping in daylight, a Sunday afternoon to be precise. The plan is ambitious. Drop 3 airborne divisions across Holland, seize a series of bridges spanning the major rivers, and open a corridor for British armored forces to drive straight into Germany. If it works, the war could be over by Christmas. You jump near Nijmegen, over 50 miles behind enemy lines. Over 50 miles. When you land, you're so deep in German-held territory that the enemy soldiers you encounter aren't even armed. They're on leave, headed home for rest, traveling on trains that run through territory they consider completely safe. Your unit stops one of those trains. German soldiers file out with their hands up, bewildered by the American paratroopers who have appeared out of nowhere. These aren't SS diehards. They're regular Wehrmacht troops who have no interest in dying for a lost cause. They surrender peacefully, and for the first time in any of your combat operations, you actually take prisoners. Before this, there was never an opportunity. Behind enemy lines, you couldn't guard prisoners while fighting for your own survival. But here, the situation temporarily stable, you can afford to be merciful. As the weeks drag on in Holland, something new appears in the sky. The jet plane. You've never seen anything like it. These German aircraft have no propellers, just holes in the front and fire coming out the back. They move at over 500 miles an hour, faster than anything in the American arsenal. When one of them goes down, you rush to examine the wreckage, looking for a propeller to keep as a souvenir. There's no propeller, just a strange, round intake where the engine should be. You're witnessing the future of aviation, though you don't fully understand what you're seeing. They scream overhead faster than anything you've ever seen, and you have no idea what they might drop next. You learn to dig deeper and keep your head down whenever aircraft appear. You count the American bombers as they fly over on their way to German targets, 400, 500 at a time. When they return, you count again, 40, 50 fewer planes coming back. Each one of those missing aircraft represents 10 men, pilots, navigators, bombardiers, gunners, who won't be going home. Operation Market Garden ultimately fails to achieve its objectives. The bridge at Arnhem, a bridge too far, can't be taken, and the British armored advance stalls. But your division has done its job at Nijmegen, and Holland proves to be one of your better operations. The losses are lighter than Sicily or Normandy, and the daytime jump gives you advantages you never had before. December 1944. The Germans launch a massive counteroffensive through the Ardennes forest, what will become known as the Battle of the Bulge. It's a last desperate gamble, throwing everything they have into one surprise attack aimed at splitting the Allied armies. The 101st Airborne is rushed to Bastogne, where they're quickly surrounded. When the Germans demand their surrender, the American general sends back a single word: nuts. The 101st holds, becoming legends in the process. Your unit, the 82nd Airborne, is trucked, not dropped, to the northern shoulder of the Bulge. Your mission is to prevent the Germans from expanding their breakthrough, to hold the line while other forces counterattack. It's the coldest winter in decades. Snow blankets everything. The wind cuts through your uniform like knives. You have no winter clothing, no hot food, no fuel for fires that would give away your position. You eat K-rations, frozen solid, and sleep in shifts in shallow foxholes scraped out of the frozen earth. Can you imagine that cold? Not just uncomfortable, but life-threatening. Men get frostbite. Men get trench foot. Men fall asleep on watch and don't wake up because they're frozen to death. And through it all, the Germans keep attacking, probing your lines, looking for weakness. There's a special danger in the Bulge that you haven't faced before: German commandos in American uniforms. These English-speaking infiltrators switch road signs to misdirect American convoys, spread false orders, and cause general chaos. You can't trust anyone who approaches your position, even if they're wearing American insignia. The solution is simple. Baseball questions. Who won the World Series in 1941? What position does Joe DiMaggio play? Any real American knows the answers. Anyone who hesitates or gives the wrong answer is suspect. You interrogate every stranger who approaches, even fellow soldiers, until you're satisfied they're genuine. The signs at intersections are particularly treacherous. The Germans have switched them around, so following the marked roads leads you in exactly the wrong direction. You learn to ignore the signs and navigate by map and compass, the way you were trained. The conditions are the worst you've faced in the entire war. Day after day, the fighting continues. The cold never lets up, but gradually, the German offensive runs out of steam. They've expended their last reserves, burned through their final supplies of fuel and ammunition. By January, the Bulge is eliminated, and the Allied advance resumes. Remarkably, your immediate group comes through the Bulge without losing a man, though you know other units aren't so lucky. The fighting is intense, but you're on the northern flank, away from the worst of the carnage. The casualties across the entire battle are staggering, tens of thousands on both sides. You've now been in combat almost continuously since June 1944. Your body is battered, your nerves are shot, but the end is in sight. Germany is collapsing. Spring 1945. You're pushing deep into Germany now. The Wehrmacht is falling apart. Entire units surrender without a fight. Refugees clog the roads. German civilians fleeing west to escape the advancing Red Army. You've heard stories about the Russians. The Germans you capture, especially the officers, can't stop talking about them. You haven't seen anything yet until you fight the Russians, they say. They describe human wave attacks, soldiers climbing over the bodies of their own dead to reach German positions, machine gun crews that fire until their barrels melt from the heat. The Russians have lost tens of millions in this war, soldiers and civilians alike. They have nothing left to lose and everything to avenge. Then, one spring day, you meet them. General Gavin orders your reconnaissance unit to scout ahead and make contact with Russian forces approaching from the east. You take an interpreter, a former Russian who now works for the American military, and drive east in your Jeep until you find them. The first thing you notice is the women. There are female radio operators traveling with the Russian tank columns. When the tanks stop, these women hop out, lift their skirts, and relieve themselves right there in the open, with no more self-consciousness than a man would show. This is the Red Army, and they've been fighting for 4 years. They have their own way of doing things. The second thing you notice is the drinking. The Russian paratroopers, yeah, they have paratroopers too, throw parties that make American celebrations look tame. You gather in captured German castles, drinking vodka and wine, toasting victory. At the end of each toast, you throw your glass into the fireplace. Then someone jumps out a second-story window for no reason you can understand. These damned Russians are really nuts, you think. But they're allies, and you drink with them anyway. What happens next, you will never forget. A pregnant German woman is walking along the road near where you're celebrating. She's obviously civilian, obviously no threat. A Russian soldier sees her, runs over, and kicks her in the belly as hard as he can. She crumples to the ground and dies. You're horrified. What are you doing? You demand. The Russians explain through your interpreter what the Germans did at Stalingrad, what they did in Ukraine, the atrocities, the mass executions, the starvation of entire cities. The Germans did the same thing, they say. The Germans did the same thing to our women. It doesn't make it right. It will never make it right. But you begin to understand why the Russians fight with such fury. They've lost 27 million people. Every Russian soldier has lost someone. They're not fighting for territory or ideology. They're fighting for revenge. The German soldiers understand this too. That's why they're surrendering to Americans in droves, desperate to avoid capture by the Russians. Where are the Americans? They ask. They know what awaits them in Soviet hands. When the link-up is complete, when the American and Russian forces have officially met and Germany is split in two, the end comes quickly. May 8th, 1945. Victory in Europe Day. Your division has been in combat for over 400 days, and you've been there for most of it. It's one of the longest combat records in the European theater. Of the original officers who left Fort Bragg with your unit, only a handful remain. You have more than enough points for discharge. Combat time, wounds, decorations, everything. Within days of the war ending, you're on a plane heading home. You're processed through Fort Dix, New Jersey, the same state you left from years ago. You have 90 days of leave accumulated. You haven't taken a single day off during the entire war. The Army owes you 3 months, and you're going to use every one of them. In fact, you start law school while you're still technically on active duty. The GI Bill is paying your way, and you're not going to waste a minute. What does it mean to be a paratrooper? It means volunteering for danger when others choose safety. It means jumping into the unknown, knowing that the plane will fall apart the moment you leave the aircraft. It means fighting with whatever you have, rifles, bazookas, captured enemy weapons, against opponents with tanks and artillery. It means accepting that if you're captured, death is more likely than imprisonment. Death before dishonor. Joseph DeMasi lived that creed across 4 combat operations in almost a year of continuous fighting. He was wounded by tank fire in Sicily and went right back to loading weapons for his comrades. He saved his general's life in Naples by listening to Italian civilians, warning of a mined building. He watched comrades die in grape orchards and hedgerows, on frozen roads and canal bridges. He saw the best of humanity in the bonds between soldiers and the worst in the vengeance of brutalized armies. After the war, Joe returned to New Jersey and built a career as an attorney. He became the first Italian lawyer in Warren County, overcoming prejudice and financial hardship to establish himself. He never married, but he remained close to his family. The same family that had pushed him to get an education when everyone else expected him to become a laborer like his father. He never forgot his fellow paratroopers. In his later years, he became active in veterans organizations, attending reunions of the 82nd Airborne, serving as legal officer for his old comrades. He traveled back to Normandy for the 50th anniversary of D-Day, where he had breakfast aboard the USS George Washington with President Clinton. When the president's speech failed to mention the 82nd Airborne, Joe corrected him personally. In every subsequent speech that day, Clinton made sure to honor the Airborne. That was Joe, always looking out for his brothers, always making sure his paratroopers got their due. The lessons Joe learned in World War II stayed with him for the rest of his life. Leadership means going first, whether it's out of an airplane door or into a courtroom. Preparation matters. The farm work that built his endurance, the ROTC training, the endless practice with weapons, all paid off when lives were on the line. And the people you serve with become your family, bonded by experiences that civilians can never fully understand. When you meet other combat veterans, Joe said, there's an unspoken recognition. You don't need to explain. They already know. Today, the 82nd Airborne continues to serve, its ranks now including women and minorities who would have been excluded in Joe's day. The division has adapted to new technologies, helicopters instead of just parachutes, global rapid deployment instead of European ground warfare, but the spirit remains the same. The volunteers who pin on those parachute wings are still accepting the same bargain Joe accepted in 1942. Death before dishonor. When Joe DeMasi was asked why he volunteered for the paratroopers, his answer was simple. I wanted to be associated with people who are of my mentality, who want to fight. He found those people. He fought alongside them across 4 countries and 2 years of combat. He watched them die, and he watched them triumph. In the end, the greatest tribute we can offer to Joe and his fellow paratroopers is to remember not just the battles won, but the individual lives given and forever changed in service to a cause greater than themselves. From the grape orchards of Sicily to the frozen forests of the Bulge, ordinary young men accomplished extraordinary things because they refused to give up, refused to surrender, refused to dishonor the creed they had sworn to uphold. This has been the story of Joseph DeMasi. One paratrooper among thousands, one hero among millions. May we never forget. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a positive review or rating. It actually makes a huge difference in helping people find these stories and only takes a few seconds. This story can be shared thanks to a partnership with the Rutgers University Oral History Archives. If you've got a story you'd like their help in sharing, visit oralhistory.rutgers.edu. That's oralhistory.rutgers.edu. Visit povwworldwar2.com for podcast updates and more. That's povww2.com. I'm Fernando Prieto. Thanks again for listening.